Great to see so many people in this room. Really a full house today. Fantastic. There are a few chairs up here. If you guys in the back don't want to stand, so feel free to join here in the front. More than a decade ago, I started my retail career not too far away from this venue, which we're sitting in right now, in a clothing store just opposite the iconic and now tragically, sadly, bankrupt shopping mall KaDeWe. And the world, especially the world of retail, was a way simpler place back then. You know, words like omnichannel barely existed. E-com wasn't really a big priority and totally siloed off from the physical stores. And I would say sort of loyalty was more or less measured on these paper cards you had filled with stamps, where you had your 5th stamp or your 10th stamp, you got some sort of perk and a benefit. But standing on that shop floor all those years ago, I still sort of understood the importance of giving great customer service and creating a pleasant experience in the room. But we didn't really have to be honest, the tools to do that in a 100% way. And fast forward to today, we all know that the landscape has changed dramatically. Today, we have access to those tools, but sometimes we're technically not really constrained by technology, but more so often our mindset, or maybe this sort of organization and the setup we're working in. But that's why we're here today with Javier from Samsøe Samsøe to really showcase and show their journey that they are on, where first-party data is becoming the foundation for them to really build long-lasting relationship and loyalty with their customers. As I already got an introduction, my name is Stefan Westman. I work for Voyado, a customer experience platform built specifically for retailers with the purpose to sort of help brands really utilize all their customer data and turn that data into actionable, relevant experiences across all channels. And we came in touch with Javier, I would say approximately 2 years ago, when they were stuck in this big, complex, old legacy solution, which was costly, took immense time to use, and the complexity just grew with each user. And they obviously wanted to move away from that situation, and we're looking into all these different best-of-breed solutions made for retailers, easy UX, and that would basically help them to accelerate. Most importantly, since they have quite a few brand stores and heavily dependent on their physical stores, they needed to be able to connect the online with the offline, and then on top of that, really have a loyalty program or a loyalty concept which works more or less seamlessly between those two channels. And you know, they were looking into having a separate CDP, a customer data platform, marketing automation tool, loyalty sort of built in between that, but realized quite quickly that the value of Voyado as a one-stop shop, having that natively all built in, gave them a much, much more quicker time to market, less dependencies, integration, different interfaces who are talking to each other. So basically, less hassle, I hope. And today we work with more than 400 brands across Europe, not only big global brands like Samsø Samsø, Jack & Jones, Globetrotter in Hamburg, but also these smaller niche brands in the different markets. And I think our ambition here on stage, I'm taking a little bit too much time now, but our ambition here is really to inspire and highlight that sort of the loyalty is a journey of 1,000 miles, and that journey will probably never end. But with each tiny step you're doing, each tiny improvement, may it be a new welcome flow for customers you are sort of getting in on your online shop, or maybe personalized recommendations based on a certain person's persona, that sort of gets the ball rolling in the right direction. And I think the best person to talk about this in this room is definitely Javier and Samsøe Samsøe themselves.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Stefan. That was a really nice introduction as well. Is there anyone in the room that doesn't know Samsø Samsø? Can you raise your hands if someone doesn't? All right. Then we'll start with a very brief introduction of who we are. We're a Danish fashion brand, which is very much focused on producing long-lasting products with a thriving CSR story as well behind. And we have a big distribution channel worldwide, so we are present in over 40 markets, thanks to our amazing wholesale and B2B partners. We are also selling e-commerce right now. The focus has been Europe. We actually decided to go overseas now with the launch of the new e-commerce platform in a few months. We also have around, I think it says 48 stores. We just opened a new store, so it's actually 49 stores across 10 different markets in Europe. And then we have around 550, 600 employees. As a brand, it's a brand that is built upon strong assets, which basically means if you have to define basically the two main ones is our product. We produce high quality product for a fair price. We don't want to be the kind of brand that takes very high margins in general. And then we are also very much focused on very skilled and talented people. So we're, let's say, not that many maybe as a company compared to other bigger fashion brands, but we really find or try to find the most talented profiles. The journey, or my journey at Samsøe Samsøe started around 4 years ago. I came from a bigger retailer. You could compare it with Zalando maybe. It was a Nordic-focused company. It was kind of a luxury to be there because you have a very big development team, which is not something that you have in most of like the small, medium-sized retailers. We only have one channel, so it was only online, which made things a lot easier when it comes to like basically taking data and structuring the data that you collect compared when you have stores. So when I arrived there, I think our transactions were 75 to 80% were done in the stores. We knew absolutely nothing of who the customer that was coming, who was the customer that was coming to the stores. And we also were running some sort of omni-channel. We were very ahead of the time. So when everyone was starting to talk about omni-channel, we were already doing click and collect, ship from a store, endless aisle around 5-6 years ago. But it was only working in Denmark, and we run a multi-brand business in Denmark, meaning that we have the multi-brand products in the stores, not in the warehouse, a lot of split orders, a lot of extra costs, not super happy customers. So, and then we kind of invested in what we call the state-of-the-art technology, which is just a fancy name for sometimes too expensive and not necessarily useful, especially if you don't have the right teams to utilize it. And then on top of this, we were not really putting the effort on collecting data. So that means that we have seen all these kind of like funny videos where people goes with a Tesla to a gas station and tries to fill it up. Well, that was basically what we were doing with our data. So not the ideal starting scenario. So over the past three and a half years, we've been really, really busy, meaning that we have had basically to take a step back and change our complete infrastructure and saying, okay, we have already done all this, but at the moment that we try to scale it, we couldn't really do it. So we decided to upgrade our POS to a more modern app-based version, also switch our on-prem ERP to something cloud-based, change our order management to something that was a bit more flexible than what we had before, and then switch as well our marketing and loyalty platform because we were having a solution that was kind of hard for us to use as a team. It was a really powerful solution, but if you don't have the team to run it, it doesn't really matter. And then we started to kind of like change the strategy on how do we work with partners. We have all been trying to buy different SaaS solutions. You have plenty of SaaS solutions here today. And the reality is many times you buy a solution and then you're kind of like on your own trying to implement the solution and structure it in your organization. I think the kind of difference with some of these companies, as an example, Voyado, is that they actually go the extra mile and help you through the entire process. And you also kind of like the same way that we have developed some of the, let's say, more complex journeys, they have been helping out on the side and improving their system as well, along with us. So it's more of a partnership with both growing rather than just a one-directional thing that is just about money. If we need to summarize our current architecture in a, let's say, this is a very basic snapshot. It looks a lot more complex in my diagrams, but I've been told that I shouldn't showcase those. But I think the important part is how the point of sale has become a really important side on our data collection, both in terms of sharing information in terms of order data, inventory data, and so on, but also the customer side of things. We actually differentiate when we talk omni-channel. They are very much interconnected, but there is kind of like two paths. One is more focused on the order side, which is more like trying to introduce all these different processes of picking up items in the store or making orders towards the warehouse, returning items in the store. It doesn't matter if it's online or in the stores and so on. But this is not really the one that we're going to focus too much today. It's more, let's say, the customer area. Our goal when I arrived 3.5 years ago is that we needed to be able to have like the 360 overview that everyone is talking about. And that came by basically changing the way that we structure our processes. So we started with the EC channel, which is the online one. And then we moved into the store side one. We kind of have like an idea of which data we wanted to collect, what was going to be the use for it, and then move forward into kind of like merging the two ecosystems. But let's make this a bit more easy to digest. So I want to introduce you today to Mette. Mette is a Danish girl. She's 34 years old. She lives in Copenhagen, and she has a flair for fashion. But this will be like the perfect picture that we all want to know when we have some customer coming into a store. As we all know, this is not the reality. We absolutely don't know anything about Mette when she comes first to a store. And that's kind of what the journey is about today, getting to know Mette. So Mette started her journey at Samsøe Samsøe just by walking around Copenhagen, passing by one of our stores in Barnesby in Copenhagen, and then just going inside and find a pair of jeans that she really liked. The problem is that the size was not really available in the store, so she went to one of the staff employees, and then the staff employee checked, and the stock, we had the stock in the warehouse, so she could actually order it and get it delivered to either home or parcel shop or whichever she wanted. But this is what actually looks like when we have a customer coming in and we don't have an item. So we'll basically ask the customer to share some information so we can ship the parcel to them. It's actually fairly easy. If you're a one-time or first-time customer, we'll need to add you into the database. If you are already been in one of the stores or ordering online and we have your consent, you can just basically search for some of the different attributes like email address, mobile phone. In some other countries, we actually use QR codes only to identify, and then you don't need to go through all this process afterwards. But this is kind of like the journey in there. And then once they have selected or completed the profile information, then we're just searching for, in this case, the jeans that Mette was planning to order. And as you can see, it's out of stock, but we can see that we have the stock online. So fairly quickly, we can also give the option for the customer to not just take the predefined delivery method, but actually showcase the customer, okay, you can choose where do you want the item delivered directly on the point of sale. It's important to mention that everything happens in the point of sale because we believe that we shouldn't overcomplicate the staff experience. They should use one system and make it as simple as possible for them. Otherwise, they cannot really focus on what they do best, which is selling. We also give the customers the possibility to decide if they want to receive emails on different formats. It can be SMS, it can be email. We would love to skip the paper. Unfortunately, it's not really legal in most countries. And on the left side, during the entire presentation, you're going to see which kind of information are we collecting from Mette and what are we starting to know from her. In most of these cases, Mette will receive a personalized email where she can also give the experience of in the store a grade, and we can collect more information about how the processes in the store are working. And you'll see, of course, we'll get the email attached, the receipt attached to the email. And then, most importantly, GDPR. We all know what it is. We all struggle sometimes with the ever-changing legislation. But in most cases, it was a luxury case where we have to get all the information, but in most cases, we only collect an email, a phone number, and then potentially last name and first name. But in most cases, we just give the option for the customer to complete the information afterwards. And then, of course, give the consent so we can actually store this information. What happens next? Our information gets sent to Voyado, so we kind of get a picture of who is the customer. We also categorize the customer on different labels based on the purchase behavior that they have had or certain interests that they have showcased. And we, of course, store the transaction information. It's important to mention that we also enrich heavily our product master data in the Voyado platform. This is only the only way that we have to also kind of give more personalized experience when, for instance, in this case, Mete has bought a pair of jeans. Those jeans are part of our Blue Believe program. And we want to tell the story about what the Blue Believe program is about and kind of like give a voice to our product. It's also a way to kind of like engage with the customer after the purchase. And then it's important to mention that this is actually really easy to do. You can basically just do most of these things. As far as you have a well-structured data, you can do most of these things directly in the Voyado user phase. We actually have just a designer running most of the processes in the platform, and then the marketing manager is actually helping out with the building of some of the journeys. But it's not really a really complex setup and a high maintenance platform to run. But let's go back to Mete. A few weeks later, Mete came to our online website because he has really liked the jeans that he has bought. And then he decided to try a few more of our products, in this case, some of our basic assortment. So she ordered one of our cashmere knits, and then she ordered also a couple of tops, just to, let's say, try what else we could do in terms of quality and products. And of course, we'll categorize this as an e-commerce transaction, meaning that after Mete has done the purchase, this information will actually be sent again to Voyado. So we'll actually be able to see that Mete has bought these products. It was on the online stores. And again, there is certain product attributes that are interesting for us to continue communicating to Mete. So in this case, we are a brand that believes that we should produce long-lasting products, meaning that we also want to explain to our customers how they can better take care of their products to make sure that they can last as much as possible. Because in the end, the cost, like the most responsible item that a customer has is the one that they already own. We are, of course, here to sell, but we also want to prove that we sell a product that is a quality product. And then, unfortunately, Mete had the situation where she was not fully happy with one of the fitting on one of the tops. So we have made very easy that she can just come to one of the stores and that's return the item. When she does that, our store staff can actually ask the customer, okay, what's the reason behind this? So we can actually give some feedback to our product team in terms of, okay, there is something with this product that we can see that there is a lot of complaints in this market where we can see that the fitting is not right, and maybe we need to start looking into more market-based sizing instead of like having a global sizing. So there are a lot of learnings that comes from this kind of experience, but it's also the easiness for the customer as well to just kind of do these processes. It doesn't matter if they order in a store here in Norway and return something in Copenhagen because they have been traveling to Oslo and they just need to return the item, or if they just want to send items to the warehouse or what they want to do. So for us, it's just more about don't try to kind of like change your customers, just help them instead. So that's kind of our motto in this case. And as you can see, again, the return has been transferred to Voyado, so we keep updating the profile. After some of these interactions, we kind of start knowing Mete. Unfortunately, we don't have a year to continue Mete's life, but this is kind of like a grasp of what can happen when you start collecting data from different platforms. But as I mentioned, this is only a foundation from growth. So we've been working very hard to kind of take that step back and build this whole structure where we can kind of grow from there. And this has been basically trying to get our basic right, but also it's been trying to, let's say, look into the way that we were collecting data, or look into what is going to be next that we want to do. So we try to only take the data that is required for things that we want to do in the future instead of trying to collect a lot of information, which in the end is most of the time just overwhelming for most companies, and there is not really an easiness on how to do things. And then again, we are just seeing AI coming in, and it's like the sexy topic these days. which means that this is just an ongoing journey. So we just build a foundation on a data structure that we can utilize to feed in the future other platforms that can basically help us grow. But if you don't have this foundation, it's kind of like sit in, sit out. You cannot really work with it. And I think there is always a humble approach on all these projects. Was it everything pretty? The reality is that it wasn't. It was very challenging to change so many platforms in such a short time. There is a part that is sometimes underestimated, which is chain management. You really need to invest your money and your time into training your staff. If you don't do that, you're basically killing yourself before launching. And it's, as I say, it's many times underestimated, and we have learned from the mistakes as well here, where sometimes it's worth to spend more and more time training your staff and making sure that they understand the processes and that they understand that there is a reason behind these processes, rather than just delivering a guide that they need to follow. Then testing. I can't really emphasize how important is testing on projects like this. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter that you think that you have thought about every single scenario. There is always something that is going to go wrong. And I think that's a learning from Moz, and everyone that has been working in IT knows that you can do a release, but there is always been going to be bugs to fix afterwards. And then we are here a lot about the standard connections in between different platforms. I think it's important to understand that the standard connection is for basic use cases. All the organizations are different, and we all have different needs. So it's important to understand when you ask companies like if they have a standard connection, to understand what are the use cases of these connectors, and not just jumping into something because you believe that everything is going to be made. So it's about really doing your research and understanding what you can actually do and what you are going to need to customize for your specific case. But I think I want to end my part today just mentioning we're planning to launch our loyalty program, hopefully within the next few weeks. We're still kind of in doubt whether we are going to do it now or we're going to do it with the new e-commerce platform. But we decided that our loyalty program shouldn't be just about what many loyalty programs is, very much focused on discounting. It's more about onboarding the customer into the brand experience. It's giving the customers the option to personalize products. It's giving the option to just have access to a specific product that is going to be only available for our members and not for everyone else. It's about giving them access to some of we organize a lot of physical activation. It's giving access to our community, to access to these events, rather than giving discounts every now and then. It doesn't mean that we're not going to give discounts. We'll do some nice promotions, but only if it makes sense. We're not the kind of brand that also is focusing on discounting. We kind of want to keep a presence in the brand. And then I think it's important to finalize just explaining that there is a reason why all companies invest in these kind of loyalty programs and try to build this kind of a structure. And I think Stefan and the Voyado team has done actually a really big research across all the different customers. And I think he wants to share a few notes with us.
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much, Javier, for those insights and taking us on the journey of Meta. And there are really, tons of reasons why brands choose to invest in loyalty concepts. But one thing that's common for all of them is really how that first-party data, to get the consent, get the customer's data in, is really the critical in order to understand them, create that communications which is relevant and talks to the individual rather than the mass. And what's nice is that we're seeing, based out of all these brands we are working with, the ones who are successful doing this, they do not only see customers which are coming back in a higher frequency, they see a higher order value. So basically, when customers come back more frequently, they also spend more in the store. And last but not least, they're also more happier customers. Basically, they're advocates of your brand. They're talking well about your brand to the friends, the neighbors, family, and so forth. And maybe what I think probably could also be most interesting and pretty cool is this, like loyalty programs, and this might have a stamp of, okay, this is just for old omni-channel retailers, these bigger chains. But no, what we're seeing now is that we're getting approached by these super cool niche direct-to-consumer brands, online pure players who are coming to us on advice like, okay, how do we do this? How do we tap into this potential? And I think that's something which we're really starting to see the past, I would say, 3 years, that has exploded really. At Voyado, we really believe that sort of loyalty is all about sort of exceeding the expectations of the customers, that they're feeling like, okay, what's in it for me? I'm getting something back here. But you know, as a premium brand like Samsø Samsø, it's not about those discounts or getting a voucher or any type of perk, financial perk. There's more to it. So, you know, before we, I think, end this session, and this is maybe a message to all the retailers or brands in the room, sort of based on your brand, your products you're selling, your target audience, sort of what do you do actually to sort of exceed the expectations of your customers today? And how do you turn those sort of one-time shoppers into recurring customers? And how can you take use from these sort of 4 pillars of loyalty? Is it via the traditional, rational, monetary approach where they get a discount? Or maybe the more emotional point of view. We're seeing a lot of cosmetic brands who are building these incredible communities where the customers is a part of the brand, creating a lot of content, which is also shared across all channels. Or maybe it's just, you know, fun, playful, a gamification approach to it. There's no right or wrong, you know, based on your brand, you just need to find your angle to it. And speaking about giving back, here in my hand, I'm actually holding a €300 gift card from Samsø Samsø. And since you guys been extremely patient here today, listening to our talk, taking the time, we would love someone in the audience here to have the chance to experience not only, you know, walking the path of Meta, but also seeing the new Samsø Samsø Spring Summer collection, which was released, I think, just a few weeks ago. It's fabulous. All you have to do is technically scan the QR code here, and then at 4 p.m. today, one lucky winner in this room will receive an email from me personally, and this gift card here. I'll probably leave this slide up now during the Q&A if you're having issues with your phone scanning it. But that's really it from us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please stay with us for a little bit. I come up with you on stage. So we have 3 minutes for some quick Q&As, but you'll also be probably here to answer more questions from the audience then as well. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I start with you. So like, you seem to have managed a real seamless experience. Everyone talks about seamless experience, but this seems to be a reality as well. What do you think are the most important channels in order to achieve that?
So I think, sorry, what do you mean in terms of?
Well, I mean, is it the store visit, or is it email marketing, or is it like staying in touch with SMS or WhatsApp?
I think it's a combination. I think the store side, the important part is just to mostly the training part and understanding what is the customer behavior when they enter a store. But it's equally important as the customer that you acquire on the e-commerce website. And of course, following up, it's just a more, if you give tools to the stores to actually get to know better the customer, they are also going to be able to give a better service to the customer. So it's more about giving an experience that is, I wouldn't say seamless, but more educated to either our technical platforms or our physical persons, just to kind of like give them the tools to make the experience of the customer better. I don't think it's so much about channels. We're going to see that channels are going to evolve continuously. If we try to do this with using emails in Asia, it's never going to work, for instance, because the way that the customer behavior there is completely different. So it's more about adjusting towards which channel our customers want to be reaching, rather than trying to focus on being the best on one specific channel.
Okay, so to adjust to the customer as well. Well, we all want to know about our perfect customer, but there is the other side. A lot of customers don't want others to know everything, and also there are legal expectations. So what do you think is key, or I don't know who wants to answer, what is key in order to like get the free will to customers? Oh, yes, I love your brand, I want to share with you. Who feels about answering?
I think it's, at least from the Samsø side, it's more like if a customer is not, doesn't really want to be part of your community, you shouldn't force people into being part of that community. So it's about explaining them what are the benefits of it and trying to do something for them instead of always be demanding things from your customers. So that's why our loyalty program wants to be more towards giving them benefits. So for instance, if you have lost your receipt and you need to still give your item back because there is some kind of issue, then you shouldn't have to just, I don't know, go through an endless process. You can just go to a store or go to our customer service online and say, hey, I've lost this. This is my email address. I ordered here. This was the product and so on. And then give a good experience to the customer. It can be involving them on the design process of products. It can be making them feel special by attending us to certain activations or giving the possibility to access things that not everyone else can access. So you need to tell a story to the customer about why they should be part of your program rather than trying to force them in. And of course, it's very important to keep processes behind. So if a customer hasn't confirmed anything, you are not allowed to store the data. Also, when it comes, you have seen how we search items like for returns and so on. This information is never on the point of sale. It's only on the order management. So it's just a live search in between systems, which makes sure that we don't store data in a lot of different systems, only in one system where we can actually just look up from the different systems. So it makes all our GDPR, let's say, or data protection infrastructure a lot stronger than when you try to set up a lot of deletion processes all across different systems.
Thank you very much. I guess in general, a good strategy, motivate with the benefits rather than forcing people to do so. But then I have one question for Stefan. So like, there is probably also a lot of data analytics, probably a team of or one data scientist working, or like, how do you like make the best personalization for the customers, like based on the data you have?
I mean, I think that's what we're trying to sort of move away from. So basically what we want to do is, retail is a tough market. It's always tough margins. Everybody's trying to as much as possible. So you want to enable your team with a simple tool where you don't need a data scientist. You don't need to have external consultant. Basically what you need is a simple, intuitive tool where you can basically understand the data and take action on it. That's sort of our way forward, and I'd say that's why we've been super successful, like empowering big brands, but they might have a marketing department or a CRM department of 2-3 people maximum. And I think that's the future and movement we're seeing. People don't want to be stuck in these really complex solutions. They want to understand the data and sort of strategize in the morning, execute by lunchtime. That's sort of our mindsets in everything we do.
So to summarize it, understand, test, optimize, monitor, and in the best scenario, make customers happy and make the brand happy.
Yeah.